Hello friends, wins plenty of imaginary arguments in the shower here, bringing you another Dota 2 video on behalf of Dota Alchemy, in which we're going to be talking about how to own with Pudge in 7.22H. I figured it's about time to make a full guide for this hero because it's quite possibly my best hero. It's one of my favorites, and the current patch is pretty good for Pudge. It's a good carry, it's a good mid laner, it's a good off laner. It's never really a particularly bad pick. It might not be S tier, but it's never going to be bad, and if you're good enough, you can win almost any game with this hero. First, let's talk about skills and items on Pudge. Level 1, you go for Flesh Heap because it essentially gives you a free tango in the lane. Level 2, you can either choose between Rot for helping you last hit a little bit better, or Meat Hook for getting kills if you don't think that you need any help last hitting. You want to max out Rot first because it gives you an insane amount of kill potential and farming potential as well. Level 6, of course, go for Dismember. Lots of kill potential once you hit this point. Level 8 and through 11, max out the Flesh Heap because level 1 Meat Hook honestly suffices. It has the same distance at all levels. It does a lot of damage for a low mana cost at level 1. You really don't need to max this anymore. 12, Dismember. Level 10, go for the 30% XP gain talent. The only time you want to go for the rot damage is if you're going to end the game in the next 5 to 10 minutes. Otherwise, if you get this 30% XP gain talent, you will be the highest level in the game on Pudge. It's absolutely insane. Level 15, 20% rot slow is good in games where slows are very effective, such as in this game. I was against an Abaddon. He was purging every stun, so the slow was quite effective for winning team fights. However, the 13% spell lifesteal helps you be very tanky, and of course that is what Pudge loves. Level 20, 180 gold per minute. This hero gets a lot of experience, but sometimes you don't get enough gold to give you those late game luxury items, which Pudge loves to get. He essentially functions as a carry in the late game. So it's very realistic to get to level 20, and that's going to get you gold to essentially become a carry in the late game, especially with this 30% XP gain talent. You will always get to this level 20 talent. Level 25, I would say probably 60% of the time you go for the 3-second dismember duration just because a 6-second BKB piercing disable in the late game is enough to kill almost anybody. And a lot of the time you don't really need the extra tankiness coming from the Flesh Heap, and you don't need the damage either because you have some carry that's doing damage as well. However, if you don't need the disable, let's say you have a Lion or a Rasta, maybe you don't need the disable, so you go for the 2.0 Flesh Heap. That's also okay. In terms of items, you start with the typical offlane items, which aren't on here, unfortunately. 2 tangos, 1 mango, 1 salve, stout, basically a shitload of regen. Go for a quelling blade as soon as possible because this hero likes to farm and get early items. Stick, boots, 2 bracers if you are worried a little bit more about magic damage. Sometimes you can go for a chainmail if there's good physical damage on the enemy team, an early chainmail, and then eventually send out a bracer. Into phase boots, into magic wand. You always want to have 1 or 2 bracers, magic wand, phase boots as your first item, first few items. Then you build into hood almost always. After that, you can sometimes build into pipe, sometimes build into pipe crimson if you don't feel like you need the initiation of a blink dagger. However, in this particular game, I felt like I was tanky enough with just the pipe that I didn't need to go for any more tanky frontlining items, and I wanted to kill people with the blink dagger. You almost always want to go 1 or 2 tanky items, then the blink dagger. Into BKB, into these late game luxury items such as Heart, such as Aghanim Scepter, such as Shiva's Guard, Boots of Travel for killing people. You basically play a typical offlaner, rebuild these aura items, but you always want to make sure that you're getting that blink, you're getting that BKB for the late game. I'd like to take a quick moment to thank the sponsor of this video, Dashlane, which is a digital wallet and password manager that makes the slow and frustrating parts of the internet faster and easier. When they originally contacted us, to be honest, I was super stoked because I knew that it was a genuinely useful product because, let's face it, most of us Dota 2 players have dozens of accounts on the internet that we have to manage. Multiple Steam accounts, other game accounts, emails for work, personal use, junk, the list goes on and on. Dashlane saves and autofills all of your passwords, phone numbers, credit card details, and so forth so that you don't have to type them in, you don't have to remember them. Dashlane is also loaded with plenty of other useful features, such as it tells you if any of your information is ever leaked on the dark web. Dashlane Premium has a built-in VPN, which means you won't risk getting your Dota 2 inventory stolen when you're on a network at a cafe, airport, or on a hotel Wi-Fi. Dashlane has a free version which you can download using the link in the description, which will also include a Dashlane Premium upgrade for 30 days for free, as long as you use our link in the description below. At the end of 30 days, you can use Dashlane for free, but if you really like Dashlane Premium, then you can use our code again to get 10% off. Anyway, back to the video. So laning on Pudge is quite simple, and I know that I say that in almost every single one of these hero guides. However, with that being said, laning on Pudge is particularly simple because essentially all you do is you farm. You just sit there and be tanky and you farm. The very first thing that you want to do on Pudge is you head over to the side shop and you purchase a Quelling Blade with the starting gold that you saved by buying 2 tangos and a salve and the bounty rune gold. With this Quelling Blade, you have 100 damage for last hitting creeps. You should never miss a last hit. And the first little movement you want to do in the laning phase, and you basically just repeat this over and over again, is you right-click the enemy carry, which will pull the melee creeps, and you pull it on to your range creep, and then you use your 70 base damage to try to get this deny. And you can see that I'm spam pinging this ranged creep here. I actually tell my 4 rolls whenever I'm on a hero like this that can't get ranged creep last hits, I say, hey buddy, you're on ranged creep duty. So this guy's going to get it, and I get this deny. So this is a move that you want to just keep repeating over and over and over again. The enemy team can't really punish you because you have this ridiculous regen for doing this. What this does is this pulls the lane all the way back towards your tower at 48 seconds into the game, and now the game is incredibly easy. You just sit here, you farm, you try to get as many last hits as possible. The lane stays here because the enemy team hasn't pulled. I did the same little move there, you could see it quickly, where unfortunately this guy misses the last hit on the range creep, which kind of sucks because they actually got the, they denied our deny by having this Caudle use this spell to get it. So they're kind of playing the lane pretty nice by doing that. But that's why you do this move where you pull the range to the range creep, so that way you can try to set up for that deny, force the enemy team to use their spells, and they're not just having this free lane, they're actually getting pressure. So once again, just pull the lane back by doing the same mechanic. Once you get Rot, which I did not go for at level 2, I thought maybe we could get a possible kill on the Caudle with Hook. I think I probably should have gone Rot in retrospect. Once you have the Rot, you can start rotting the creep wave out to push it, and use the hard camp to the left to pull back. You just push, pull, push, pull, push, pull, and that's going to give you this tremendous XP lead. Once the 5-minute timer hits, or a little bit before 5 minutes, you want to make sure that you are at least posturing to the side of the lane that the bounty runes are at, and you tell your support to go get the bounties. And the reason you posture there is because generally if I'm standing here, this guy's not going to go over here and try to get the bounties. So we just get free bounties, but also I don't have to lose this whole creep wave here. That's a big problem a lot of people have, at least from what I've seen when I do coaching, is that people don't want to leave a creep wave to secure bounties. Well, you don't have to as an offlaner. You just have to make yourself look menacing. Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, this gyrocopter ran in and went for the bounties anyway, and we got a pretty nice freebie on him, which was indeed First Blood, which sets up for a pretty nice game. At about 5 minutes in, this is when it hits nighttime, and lanes kind of start to break down. So sometimes, not in this particular game, but sometimes on Pudge, I'll look to reorient myself on the map to put myself in a better position to maybe play a lane that somebody else can't play. Let's say this Morphling is playing against a lane that he can't stay in, and he really needs an easy lane. And the lane that I'm in is quite easy. I can maybe swap with him, and then both of us can get a little bit more farm that way and apply a little bit more pressure that way. Or maybe I'll go mid while my mid jungles, and I'll just have my support sit in the bot lane and shove it out. But in this particular game, I figured that it was my job to continue pressuring down here, and I figured that Grimstroke and I had a lot of kill threat in this bot lane, so I essentially just kept playing here. And the way that you play once you have the level 2 Rot is you just push out the lane and then make a move, and then you push out the lane and you make a move, and do that repeatedly until you get to a point where you're level 6, and then that's when you look to start killing people. So if I had a good lane on Pudge, what I'll do is I'll wait for that 10-minute siege spawn, and then I'll rot out the creep wave, go behind the tower, and just look to get the tower as early as possible. This game in particular was one of those games where it was just going quite well. You can see that on the siege wave, I even fortify the creep and then eat the catapult just to give myself a little bit of HP, as well as tanking the tower, so that way my next creep wave will come here and the catapult will survive. You can see here the effects of that. The next creep wave comes in, and that way the siege catapult survives, and that gives us the tower. And now is when I look to just get active. So what I'll do is I'll either go to a lane where I think that I can get a kill, or I'll go to a lane and I'll use my body essentially as a just meat shield to defend a tower, because realistically, if I've taken this tower and I defend this tower, then that means that my team has access to this jungle camp, this bounty rune, and then our entire side of the map, and the enemy team does not have access to this bounty rune, this jungle camp, or this jungle camp. Which means if we just hold that position for 5 minutes, we're probably going to have like a 5k gold lead, because that's a lot of money that the enemy team's not getting that we are. That's just good numbers. So I'll sit in front of a tower a lot of the time. There's an Enigma in this lane. He's trying to push, so I'm trying to defend this. Or I'll look for a kill. If I'm losing the lane, then I will probably rotate before taking this tower, and I'll just leave this tower up to a possible future rotation, except with more teammates, because if I'm not able to take it on my own, chances are we need to make a pretty big rotation to it, and that's still okay. You can still go for kills in the other lanes and take towers in the other lanes, but once you have about level 6, 7, or level 8, past the 7 or 8 minute mark, you want to make sure to start getting active in the other lanes. You just want to keep fighting on this hero non-stop. So next, I just want to quickly show you the effects of my rotation towards that top lane and how long I held the tower for. So I went up at about 11 minutes in. We have a 3k gold lead, and I just chill in the lane. Push out the creep wave with Rot. I don't go to the tower because I don't want to feed. All I'm doing is I'm defending the tower, stack the camp, run to the creep wave when it's pushed up, push it out, don't go to the tower because that's dangerous, farm the stack, go back to the wave because it's pushed up. We have a 4k gold lead now instead of 2k, farm both of the camps, walk to the creep wave while it's pushed up. We have a 5k gold lead now, push the lane. It's very boring. That's the thing, is that it's very boring, but it wins games doing stuff like this. Once we get all the bounties, get a couple of kills, we have a 7k gold lead, goes up to 8k, and that is when I finally make a move out of that lane, because my TA, I believe, has a Deso and a Blink Dagger coming. Morphling is getting to the point where he can probably show up to fights, at least last. We have a good amount of levels. I have the full pipe. This just feels like a pretty good power spike. We also got a kill towards this area, so that allowed us to get this nice ward up. We have this tower. We have this tower now. The TA took it. So this is where it gets to the point where the early mid-game has kind of ended, and we've shifted to the point where we want to group up and just continue fighting and sieging. So this is when I run at towers with my team and start getting aggressive. Up until this point, it's been kind of farming and defensive aggressive, you know, where it's like I'm defending somewhere, but also doing it in an aggressive position. And now it's just about we're running in and we're trying to fight at almost any cost until our Lich dies. Then, of course, it's like, all right, guys, maybe it's time to just back out. And if they overcommit, then we'll go for it. So in this next clip, I want to use this to talk about and demonstrate a couple of things that I think are pretty important on Pudge. So here we are sieging the mid tower, and this works for almost any tower. Let's say you're just playing in the enemy jungle here, and maybe you don't want to siege because that's pretty dangerous. You can still do this when you're holding an area, and you just do the exact same sort of concept. I walk over here, and I grab this creep wave. I do it very preemptively because I feel that my team is not going to get gone on. If they do, I'm close enough that I can get to them, and this totally prevents what's going on over here. So this guy can't continue split pushing us after this wave because I cut this one. So in this particular situation, I'm not very effective when it comes to tower damage. We have a TA, this hero's got a Deso, she's doing 10 billion damage, we have a Morphling. Both of these heroes are quite tanky. They have an Enigma with Black Hole, they have an Earthshaker with Blink Echo, they have Gyrocopter who has Call Down. So I just stand on the sideline, and so do my supports. They stand kind of on the back line. This guy's all the way over here. And I just look to possibly hook my team out in this situation from possible threats, because if the enemy team uses all of their bullshit and then we go back in afterwards, how do they fight us if everything's on cooldown? So I just sit out and wait to possibly hook. Earlier on into the game, when these heroes aren't as strong, what I would probably look to do is to be the one that gets initiated on, because it's unlikely the enemy team is going to kill me. But in this situation, because we have an Aegis, it's safer to bait them. So on Pudge, you're either baiting your team or you're baiting yourself. And because of this, it sets up for a good fight. They use a bunch of their ultimates. We get 2 of their squishy heroes right here. And then I see the Earthshaker. This was always a thought of mine going into this fight, is that if I can get either the Earthshaker before he hits Echo or the Enigma before Black Hole, then it's going to be a one fight, because they need both of these abilities to kill us when we have this 10k gold lead. So the moment I see him, I go for a hook on him. So it's very important, at least in my opinion on this hero, that, you know, when I blinked in here, I didn't go for a hook on the Gyro. I didn't go for a hook on the Enigma. That was with purpose. This wasn't just like hooking the first person that I saw. Anyway, with that being said, I really appreciate you watching this video. Thank you to Dashlane for sponsoring this video. Check out those guys in the link in the description below for some free premium, courtesy of Dota Alchemy, 30 days free trial. Anyway, thank you for watching. I do appreciate it, and I hope to see you in another video.